In the year 2002, 5 things of note happened. Switzerland joined the UN, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup, President Bush gave his first State of the Union address, Osama bin Laden and the Taliban had their assets frozen in a unanimous decision, and Mario Party 4 came out. Mario Party 4 was easily the biggest thing to happen to the Mario Party franchise since Mario Party 3 came out. It was announced in March of 2002, 6 months after 9/11. The attacks on the World Trade Center were devastating and all, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let some dumb terrorist organization stop me from getting the next Mario Party. Announced just 7 months before its North American release, Mario Party 4 had the responsibility of taking the series into the third dimension, specifically the boards. No more of that 2D Resident Evil-ass plain shit. Now it's all 3D just like God intended. And with mind-blowing water effects coming at you in 480p, it just sounds too good to be true. It's like 9/11 didn't even happen. But this game also marked the first 128-bit appearances of several characters, meaning that it was up to Hudson Soft to modernize the designs of them. And that they did. This game introduced the final designs of multiple characters, all of which have become the standard for them today. And with all this 3D and water effects and modernization of the formula, what did people actually think about this game? Well, that's irrelevant, because it's not what I'm here to talk about today. No, I'm here to talk about something much more meaningless. After Mario Party 4 graced North America on October 21st, 2002, at some point in the middle of November, the North American MarioParty.com website decided to drop the most obscure game that almost no one has ever heard of. And that game was called Mario Party 4. No, not that game, this game. This is also Mario Party 4. The Mario Party 4 Flash game. Ah yes, how could anyone with the exception of everyone forget? The first game in the series not to be developed by Hudson Soft, but instead some dude in the Nintendo of America digital communications team. What a treat. And you might be saying to yourself, well, this can't be considered a Mario Party game. It's just some tiny Flash game made to promote the real thing. And to that I say, fuck off, idiot. This game features a total of 5 unique boards and 10 original mini-games. It even has the same roster as Mario Party 3 and 4. A whole Mario Party right here in your browser. It's like God came down and sneezed on your Netscape navigator. This is what Adobe was founded for this shit. But before I get all excited over an Adobe Flash original Mario Party title, it's probably important to consider whether or not it's actually good. Yeah, that might be important, so without wasting your time further before wasting your time intentionally, welcome to the Mario Party 4 Flash game. So, your first time booting into this game, which is going to be a nightmare by the way, you get to choose a character. All the art here are de-assified versions of Mario Party 4 renders, except for Yoshi, whose render isn't even from this generation, because why the hell not, fuck it. When you hover your cursor over each character, it obnoxiously plays their entire windscreen voice samples. And not the sample from when winning a minigame, but the sample at the very end of a game when they win overall. It's such a dumb choice, especially since some of them are just real shit.
I am the party star! I'm a big party star!
Once you've chosen your spirit animal, you load into the actual game itself, and you get to choose between 5 boards. And wouldn't you know it, it's the same 5 hosts from Mario Party 4. It's almost like these games are linked somehow. Each host's board is a weird, sometimes completely unique take on their GameCube equivalent, and oh boy do I have a lot of great opinions about them I'd love to share. The first board is the creatively named Toad's Game Board. It shares a name with former President John Toad's Game Board Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was shot in the head and died. Each game board has a starting space and sends you off with a little explanation of the board and its gimmicks. At the top of the screen is a dice block, and you click it to roll a number from 1 to 6. The first thing you immediately run into is this info space, which I honestly could not care less about. These wastes of time are scattered throughout all the boards, and their only purpose is to tell you some random trivia about Mario Party 4. I get that this whole thing is obviously meant to get you to buy Mario Party 4, but I can't help but wonder why I would get a pop-up telling me about a cool board from the GameCube game, and then close the window to just go back to playing this shit. Like they want to get you questioning yourself as to why you're playing this. Literally any other Mario Party would be better. Really an existential experience, and I gotta say, let me break the fourth wall for a second, even though there really never was one, to tell you that Adobe Flash doesn't exist anymore. I'm sorry for my viewers with dementia if that breaks your heart, but it's gone and we just gotta accept it. So how on God's cursed earth do you play this game? Well, you could play it on some Flash archive site like Flash Museum where it's broken and doesn't work, or you could install software like Flashpoint or Ruffle and hope that it works. It all usually comes down to a browser called WaterFox that actively supports Flash. Once you have Flash installed properly though, you can usually just launch it directly from the SWF file. Having said that, this game isn't in the best shape. It's a little broken. Some of the images on the info spaces just don't load anymore, and the character select screen doesn't seem to work either. I can only boot directly into the game as Mario, but thankfully the heart and soul of this game is still intact. And speaking of of heart and soul, I'd gladly tumble overboard if this is what I resorted to playing in 2002. This is like what your poor friend would play in the library after school. Moving on, just like the real deal, blue spaces net you 3 coins and red spaces take away 3. Each board is separated into chunks and the camera follows you as you move to the next. This board has this teacup ride in the center that, believe it or not, comes from its Mario Party 4 equivalent. It just sends you to one of 2 paths. Every time you roll, you just roll again. It kinda raises the question, why am I rolling if I can just roll forever? And the answer to that is, who even cares? There is no better explanation. As you traverse the flourishing world that is this board, you'll notice a few other spaces as well. A happening space, a chance time space, and an item space. At first glance, you might be fooled into thinking this game has more to offer than what meets the eye. But please rest assured knowing that everything you see is closer to being nothing than it is to being something. Let's start on these happening spaces. When you land on a happening space, you're prompted to play a minigame. Would you like to play a minigame? You can just straight up say no, which is hilarious. No, I would not like to play a minigame. But if you're stupid enough to say yes, you get to play one of 5 one-player minigames. Wow, what a treat. All the excitement of real minigames, except not. Now, truth be told, this one is actually a clever use of the mouse cursor, and I really need to remind you that while I think this minigame has good design for a web browser flash game, it's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's about like what I would expect from something like this. Your goal is to pick up rocks and place them in front of the lava flow coming down the volcano. There's 4 paths, but only 3 streams will ever flow down them. You have to grab a rock and then place it in front of the flow. The hitbox on these rocks are the dumbest fucking thing, I swear to God. It's like the upper 40% of it will actually block the lava. Any lower, forget it. The rocks stop flow for about 5 seconds and then blow up. So you gotta go back down, grab another rock, rinse and repeat for 30 seconds. But the rocks take a second to reappear after blowing up, and there's only 3 rocks on screen at a time. This one's actually a bit difficult because of how precise you have to be, and you'll always end the game with at least one of the streams right next to your little town. It's kinda okay, honestly. Like, I wouldn't hold my local auto body mechanic hostage under the floorboard of my dining room just to play this, but I'm not gonna staple a plastic bag around my neck if it comes up. It's just fine, but it's not the type of minigame you want to play over and over again. Once is enough. Beating a minigame nets you 20 coins, so unless you're desperate, don't come back to this one. It takes too long. Now, what about those chance time spaces? Why would there be chance time in a one-player flash game? Well, the answer is, there isn't, you dumbass. Why would you think that? Well, chance time spaces are relegated to Game of Fortune minigames. Yes, seriously. What is Mario Party without some form of gambling? No Mario Party is complete until it features some way for me to obtain a crippling gambling addiction. Yeah, it's just a luck minigame you pay to play. The price of entry is always 1 coin, except for one of them, which costs 2 coins for some reason. They all have mostly the same rules as far as winning goes, but typically you can only win 3 times before having to go back to the board. This one is called Spinsation, and it's a roulette wheel. It really showcases the creativity this game has to offer. It's a wheel you spin and you either win or lose coins, and sometimes if you're lucky, nothing will happen. The spinner is stuck having a permanent epileptic seizure whenever you spin it, and I really don't mind this one just because gambling is fun and it means nothing in this case. Spinsation is quick and you don't have to do much. That is genuinely considered a pro when playing these minigames. Now that I've explained those two, what the hell is there an item space for? Well, if you guessed items, you'd be partially correct to an extent that isn't unreasonable. Mario Party 4's big gimmick is the Mega and Mini Mushroom system. You use Mega Mushroom and you can steal coins from other players. You use the Mini Mushroom, you can take paths and play games you couldn't otherwise. And you might be wondering how the devs could somehow fit this system into this Flash game, and the answer is, they didn't. You can pick up 2 Megas and 2 Minis at a time, but you can't actually use them. You can hover over them and get a little tidbit, but you can't actually use them. Well then what the fuck is the point of them being programmed into this game? Well, I'll get into this more later, but of the 5 boards in this game, 2 of them feature 1 mini pipe in which you can use a mini mushroom. And these spaces are on every board despite the fact they serve no purpose on 3 of them. And you know what? Speaking of serving no purpose, what the fuck is the point of any of this? What am I supposed to be doing here? What's the goal? There's no set number of turns, so I'm just going around doing the same shit over and over again. Well, there's one more thing I haven't talked about yet. Item shops. Yeah, seriously, item shops. You pass by an item shop and are given the option to shop. What are you shopping for? Well, here it is, the point of the game. The reason you're going around collecting coins and playing minigames is so that you can buy all the wallpapers and screensavers from the shop. They cost 10 coins each and come in 2 different resolutions. And don't forget to download them, because once you back out of the download screen, you gotta pay 10 coins again to get access to those sweet download links. The screensavers can be downloaded for all your favorite operating systems, such as Windows XP, Mac OS 9, and Mac OS 10. Depressingly, these links don't work anymore, so you won't be able to trick out your Macintosh G4 with a sick picture of Donkey Kong standing with a hammer. Thankfully though, all these wallpapers have been an archive by this website that I don't think is maintained anymore, but as far as those screensavers go, they're all lost media. No corner of the internet seems to have them. Each board has 4 different wallpapers or screensavers to choose from, except Koopa Troopa's board, which only has 3 because someone couldn't make just one more image of a render in front of a pattern. I would assume the goal of all of this is to save up 40 coins so that you can buy all 4 items from the shop, and I think it's fair to assume that that's what you're intended to do, but nothing happens after you buy them all aside from the feeling of your brain hemorrhaging. Before moving on, there's one more aspect of these boards I forgot to mention. At the beginning of each board, the host warns you about all the bullshit you're about to endure, and every board has one random event that can happen at any time for no reason, and they're all really fucking stupid. In this board, at any point after rolling, this PNG of a Bob-omb can just show up, explode, and send you back a few spaces. It seems like it showing up is based on very few variables, because in some cases, if you just roll the same number over and over again, you can literally just be stuck in a loop and get sent flying like 4 to 5 times, and it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'd love to know the RNG used for this. If for some reason you haven't yet been turned off to the game, look no further than playing more of it. Shy Guy's Game Board, what a delight. In this board, there's a fat fucking rock in the middle of everything and it's just there. You go into it and get sent out in one of 3 directions. Wow, a board obstacle that randomly sends you in a direction out of your control. What a unique idea. Info. Ooh, cool. Each board features its own unique set of info boxes that are sure to sweeten your experience. Even if they do work, the image is so horrifically low quality. And yes, I know this is an Adobe Flash game, but in all seriousness, shut up. What's a game board without a minigame? Irksome instruments. The idea here is that this phonograph plays you a tune and you have to figure out which instruments were used. There's 3 levels and each one adds an instrument. The first 2 are pretty easy, but once you add a 3rd instrument, it's weirdly impossible. Like, it's completely ridiculous how hard it is to tell what the 3 instruments are, and I feel like that's their fault. And if you get it wrong, 3 new instruments are used, so you can't just guess until you get it right. I played this one a couple of times before actually realizing that the music coming from the phonograph is actually the shittiest rendition of the main theme from Mario Party 4. It says that in the instructions, but I never acknowledged it because what I'm hearing is so not the game's main theme. Listen to these 2 and tell me how similar they sound. Not only is it off-key, but it's not even the same notes. Who's responsible for the Mario Party 4 Flash game OST? They did a shit job. Well, no, actually, I think they fucking killed themselves after making this one jingle because the entire rest of the game has absolutely no music. Yeah, my mistake for not mentioning that earlier, but there's no music in this game. You're gonna be playing these boards in complete silence. The music you've been listening to in this whole video is from the Mario Party 4 boards. Why couldn't they just put these in? Even just a low-quality MIDI of them or something. No, just dead silence for me, please, because I'm psychotic. The shop on this board features a new set of art pieces ready to not be downloaded. And how would I afford these pieces without a little Game of Fortune minigame? Bust a balloon. Wow, it's hard to make something dumber than this. Click 3 balloons. Oh, you missed. You missed clicking a balloon. That's when you know your life has gone to complete shit, when you're playing Bust a Balloon from the Mario Party 4 Flash game and you somehow miss. Very few people have come back from that. After having played this one a bunch of times, I realized that after throwing the dart, you have about a quarter of a second to just spam other balloons and pop them too. You only win whatever the last thing you clicked was, but if you're quick enough, you can try it again after popping the wrong balloon. Yeah, throw that shit on GameFAQs. There's really so little point in having different paths when there are no unique board events behind them. It's not like in regular Mario Party where you can make a left to get to Boo or you make a right to get to the star. It's like you go down and there's an info space, and if you go left instead, there's also an info space. Why do I care where I go? You know what I do care about, though? Dumb board gimmicks. Remember in the last board how a Bob-omb could just spawn out of nowhere and blow up? Here on this board, Koopa Kid can just show up and swamp all the red and blue spaces for 3 rounds. What an upset in my strategy. I kinda wanna like this game, but it's really just utter dog shit. Like, the minigames so far haven't been terrible by any means, but like, what the hell is all this shit? Did they really think people on the fence would play this and then buy 10 copies? Anyway, on the Koopa board here, ye olde gimmick is the Tsukiki, or I'm sorry, a little monkey. You get to him and he throws a banana peel that sends you either up or down. This board's got 2 weird paths because one of them is like squished between the main path and the other path, and the other one goes all the way around the entire board and takes forever to get back to the start. As always, you need money to buy the 3 items on this board instead of 4. So what better way to earn coinage than a good old-fashioned Game of Fortune minigame? You shoot a ball into the machine, and whatever it lands on is what you get. Yes, it really is that awesome. Besides just being extremely similar to the Reversal of Fortune event in Mario Party 4, it's also got some of the worst odds of winning out of all these games. You have no control over the power of your shot, so you just let the game pick a random amount of pull and watch as it most likely misses all the coins and goes straight to the bottom. Definitely one of the worst minigames in this game, since it really just comes down to clicking a button. Spin Station just comes down to clicking a button too, but at least there, it's just a roulette wheel. Here it's a fucking pinball machine that you have to wait and watch. At the very least, I want to control it. The pop-up event on this board is so weird. Koopa just shows up and gives you 10 coins for no reason, and then you just move on. How cheap is that? It's worth mentioning that your coins carry from board to board. If you really wanted to, you could just rack up a bunch of coins in this board and go to the others and buy up all the items, but I think it's more fun to start fresh on each board. And I say more fun very loosely, in the same vein that car accidents are more fun than dying in a plane crash. Surf's Up is another minigame that exists, and it doesn't dare go beyond that. You have to race this wave for 45 seconds. Every 5 seconds a rock shows up, and you have to move up or down to avoid it. The issue is, there's no challenge in trying to avoid it because the rock will always spawn in whichever lane you're currently in. The whole time you have to tap the right arrow key to row, but if you tap too fast or hold it down, your boat does whatever the hell this is and slows down. This minigame's not particularly hard, but you have to do it for 45 seconds, so the biggest risk here is getting so bored that you stop paying attention and die. Besides this dope picture of Wario standing, this board really doesn't do anything for me. What if we took the idea of a center obstacle that sends you in a random direction and put it in every single fucking board? It doesn't matter if it's not even relevant to the source material, just throw it in, fuck it. Goomba's Greedy Gala in Mario Party 4 is themed around luck. It also happens to be one of the weaker boards in the game in terms of design because of how poorly it allows players to have the freedom to move through the quadrants of the board they want to be in. I literally don't care if this board does that or not because no matter what, it would be more productive of me to be dead. The aesthetic of this board is probably the most faithful to the original compared to any of the other boards here. And although it's the same shit new layout, this board does actually feature a new element that we haven't seen yet, and that of course is the mini pipe. Wow, holy shit, an actual board element that isn't just move in a random direction. And of course there's only one of them on the entire board. Once you get a mini mushroom on an item space, make your way to the pipe and choose the appropriate direction, and in you go. The biggest joke about this whole thing is that there's 3 spaces behind this pipe and none of them mean anything. The only thing you gain by going through this pipe is avoiding the item shop, which isn't something that means anything. Like you would really give a shit. You're using an item to go through a pipe for 3 spaces. I mean, seriously, what the hell kind of design is that? Board design made by someone who majored in bed shitting. Card commotion. It's a basic memory game with icons of spaces from the game. There's 3 levels, and in the latter 2, the chips move, which actually adds an extra kind of challenge because more than just remembering where things are, you have to pay attention to where they move to. It's honestly fun. Not like drinking until you throw up fun, but like reheating McDonald's in the microwave fun. The shop has 4 items again, none of which anyone should care about, and what better way to buy this useless crap than playing Coin Eaters, the only Game of Fortune minigame that costs 2 coins instead of 1. It's also shit. Fish move, you click one, maybe it has coins, maybe it doesn't. The only challenge is clicking a fish. You can't lose coins in this game, and it's so shit and uneventful. The only thing I find interesting about this board is the animation at the roulette wheel, because it tells you what color you're gonna land on before it actually stops, which is a dumb design choice. The pop-up PNG here is Goomba, and he just turns all red spaces blue for 3 turns. A real game changer. This board is probably the best in this game, which is by no means a very high bar to jump over. Boo's Game Board. This is actually for real the only board in this game where the path you take isn't decided by some random bullshit in the center of the map. What a nice change. You know, it's funny because as annoying as these random path things are, they literally mean nothing because there's nothing behind any of them and they don't mean anything. That really says something about the design of a game when an obstacle that means actually nothing is somehow annoying. The gimmick here is the 3 phantom bridges that disappear and reappear at random, similar to how Boo's Haunted Bash works in the GameCube game. It just feels like you have a lot more freedom moving around here, and the bridge mechanic is so much more bearable than this shit. Prickly Pear Drive, aside from being a dumb fucking name, is also something special. You load in and... is that music I hear? Holy mother of God, it's music. I almost forgot that music exists. This is actually the only instance in this entire game where there is music. Why is that? Why can't there be music anywhere else in the game too? At first you might think that the music playing is the theme from Toad's Midway Madness, but then you realize that instead of the full track, it's just the first 4 measures repeated infinitely. It just never actually starts. The minigame itself is fine, not too bad. You drive a prickly pear with wheels, which I'm gonna pretend isn't the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and you have to drive through some course with balloon walls, and if you hit a wall, you get slapped with the old wah 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 wah. Just like card commotion and irksome instruments, this minigame has 3 levels to it, each slightly more difficult than the last, I guess. It's fine. This is the last one-player minigame, and of the 5 there are, I'm really surprised none of them are very terrible. Don't get me wrong, they aren't very good, but they aren't really that bad. This is the only other board in the game besides Goomba's board to have a mini pipe in it, and once again it leads to absolutely nothing interesting. There's an info space, and that's it. It really means nothing, but at least there's more than 3 spaces. Having said that, the Mega Mushroom does nothing, like actually nothing. It's almost as if they just forgot to give it some kind of purpose. You can pick up Mini and Mega Mushrooms, but only the Mini serves any purpose, and even then, only on 2 boards. The Megas just actually do nothing and have no reason to exist. That's great. The top portion of the board is the most interesting area, and it's only because you can run loops by using these 2 bridges. That's it. It's a good way to grind coins. This board has the by far dumbest pop-up element, and that would be the boo that just shows up and takes a random amount of coins from you just for the fuck of it. Sometimes I've had 4 taken, sometimes 6. I don't know, and who cares? The final Game of Fortune minigame is the Fortune Cookie Crumbles. Pretty much all the Game of Fortune minigames are terrible, and the final one here doesn't disappoint. You pick 3 fortune cookies, and whether or not they're good, you only get 3. So unlike other minigames where you can play until you win 3 times, here you only get 3 chances no matter what. So if you're lucky enough, you could lose coins 3 times and then just get kicked back to the board. Easily the worst chance you could take in any of these games. After buying the final screensavers and wallpapers, I realized something. It doesn't matter if you want these wallpapers to actually use them, or if you just want them to say you collected them all and completed the game. Either way, there's something very wrong with you. If you're mentally ill, you can head over to the Plan a Party mode. Here you can pick your favorite character and send your local police department an invitation via email to play the Mario Party 4 Flash game. It's a real hoot, and I've never felt more alive while writing this. The servers function just as well as the game mechanics. So if you're looking for a good way to spend an hour, go find a bong and hit the fuck out of it. This is not how you spend an hour. You don't have to cure cancer or run a soup kitchen or something like that, but just definitely don't spend it playing this shit. Go to sleep or something. This game is technically a Mario Party game complete with boards and mini-games. The idea of a Mario Party Flash game isn't something completely unique to the promotion of Mario Party 4. Several other Mario Parties have had their own little Flash experiences, but they were all just microsites dedicated to showing gameplay footage and screenshots. None of them went the extra mile of having boards and mini-games like this one did. The Mario Party series as a whole isn't one that is loved by critics. No critic seems to like Mario Parties. I think journalists are too stupid to realize that these games aren't meant to compare with Horizon Zero Dawn or the latest Zelda epic. They're supposed to be fun for a couple of assholes to get together and fuck with each other. That's the point. There doesn't need to be perfect game design, it doesn't have to have a wide cast of characters, and it doesn't have to be Game of the Year. It just has to be fun. And the Mario Party 4 Flash game does literally none of those, so that's why it sucks. Forget that it's a Flash game, forget that it's meant to promote Mario Party 4, and forget that it was developed by probably 4 people with the tech limitations of Internet Explorer. It's a bad game. It always was, and it always will be. Maybe one day we'll see another promo game for a Mario Party in a similar vein, but I really doubt it, and who gives a fuck anyway? I'm Bearman, and I've been wasting your time. Au revoir.